There is no red, white, or blue in this country. The only color that matters is green, because we live in the United Corporations of America. Welcome to Status Coup. It is the year 2025 in the United Corporations of America. And I am delighted to start our live streaming this year with one Steve Grumbine of The Real Progressives. Steve, I hope you had a happy new year. How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right, man. I'm trying out the Wayback Machine for those who are looking for the silver fox. He's still there, just matching the drapes.
I was waiting for you to comment on your
carpet and drapes
on your extreme makeover. It's a good look. It's a good look. I don't have to dye yet, but I'm certainly going to have to try something because this is thinning. I think I have about 2-3 years left before we have major problems. But I digress. Listen, unfortunately, we're going to have to start with the sad topic of the terror attack in New Orleans. But on a brighter note, and smash that like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. 2024 was good for us at Status Coup. We grew almost 150,000 subscribers on YouTube, 100,000 in the last 3 months of 2024. And our views are way up. We've never actually done this based on views. If I had, I probably would have just done Trump and Russia every video. So we chose to cover things others weren't covering, frankly, to our detriment in terms of views. But for a variety of good reasons, we've gotten a lot of new subscribers last year, and we hope that momentum continues in 2025. So welcome if you're new to Status Coup. And we're going to continue mixing in our on-the-ground reporting, investigative reporting, and hopefully expand. We're really trying to at least get the funds to hire a new reporter. So thank you to everyone who's new, and thank you to everyone who has signed up as a paid member. We will be doing our first members call of 2025. It's already Thursday, so probably next week. So stay tuned for that. Smash the like button, share this live stream. We do have new news in the race to the bottom of the U.S. predatory health care system. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I want to start with the terror attacks. There's not much new for me to report. Most people know what happened so far, but the terror attack, it sure seems like it is prompting, which 14 people died, 35 wounded at this point. It sure seems like some folks are coming out advocating for 9/11 style crackdowns on surveillance, civil liberties, etc., which is not the answer. Certainly not the answer. Let me play you this clip. This is from the Orleans Parish District Attorney, Jason Williams. He responded to this attack by basically saying we need heavier surveillance state like Europe.
Things are going to have to change just after 9/11. I remember a time when I could run from my car to the gate to catch a flight. After 9/11, we realized we need to do things very, very differently so that we can all arrive at our destination safely. I think you're going to see a lot of things change in the city of New Orleans. And actually, I think you're going to see a lot of things change in this country in terms of how we handle large-scale events. Where there's pedestrian access and where vehicles are allowed. I think you're going to see things change in terms of the level of surveillance that we have in this country. We've pushed back against some of that, but when you look at places like the UK and other European places where CCTV is very commonplace and used proactively so that it can look for signs or indications of an attack, I think you're going to start seeing those things in this city because I'm going to be pushing for them. And you're going to probably see them in a lot of other places that are destination cities like the city of New Orleans.
We're going to get to why maybe you should have just put up the guardrails that the New Orleans police had at their disposal. Maybe that would have prevented this. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But first, I want to state, sorry, MAGA. I always have to give you a trigger warning because, you got these MAGA people that unsubscribe if you dare say anything against our dear, fearless leader, Trump. Trump, of course, came out with the lie right away that this was an immigrant, an illegal immigrant. This was not an immigrant. He was born in the U.S. of A., a veteran, apparently a real estate salesman. Texan. So not an immigrant. Can't really blame the other in this case. But this, to me, is very troubling, Steve. Obviously, our thoughts are with the people who lost their lives, their families. But talking about, invoking 9/11 and, the crackdown after that, saying that we need more CCTV, like that can't be abused, talking about European style surveillance. I do not think that is the direction to go. Also, this is just one person. So you might say, Jordan, who cares? It's not like this is the leading Democrat in Congress saying this or Republicans are saying this. No, they're not saying it yet, but the billionaires are. This from September of last year, billionaire drools that citizens will be on their best behavior under constant AI surveillance. Say cheese, if it were up to Larry Ellison, the exorbitantly rich co-founder of software outfit Oracle, all of us will soon be smiling for the camera constantly, not for cheery photographs, but to appease our super invasive, if not totally omnipresent, algorithmic overseers. As Business Insider reports, the tech-centric billionaire glibly predicts that the wonders of AI, they're so wonders, will bring out a new paradigm of supercharged surveillance, guaranteed that the proles, citizens all behave and stay in line. So this is just one politician openly calling for more surveillance, but the politicians have already allowed more surveillance through the AI companies, and the AI companies are all with big tech. Google's doing it, Apple's doing it, Meta, Facebook's doing it. What are your thoughts on essentially, using a terror attack to call for more surveillance?
I mean, the U.S. has famously used all these incidents throughout time to crack down and eliminate civil liberties, and it's just more of the same. So expect it to happen, because that's what always happens. That's what happened going back to 9/11. 9/11, I think, was the real major pivot, but it's going to keep happening. And AI is not getting any less AI. It's not getting any pushback. It is 100% invasive. It's entering the workplace. We watched it use in Gaza to eliminate people in Gaza, and now we're going to watch it happen in the U.S.
And I want to stress on this point, because again, I mean, at the end of the day, if whatever this guy's motivations are, we'll get into it. It seems like he had financial problems. He was 2 divorces, somehow wanted to convert to ISIS. But at the end of the day, I mean, you could surveil all you want, but unless you're going to literally create like a lockdown police state, I mean, somebody, if they're driving fast enough, could drive through just about anything. You can't put up barriers everywhere. But in this case, it seems that the reason this guy was basically able to just drive around police, because on Bourbon Street, which I've been there, Bourbon Street, they had police as the barriers. This guy just drove around them, but they had barriers there that they could have been using, but because the Super Bowl is coming in February to New Orleans, I don't know, they were like, revising. I don't know what they were doing with them. I'll read you this New York Times story, which shows you this was not an issue where more surveillance would have done it. Maybe just putting the barriers that would have stopped a vehicle from ramming through. New Orleans attacker evaded a security system under repair. Bollards that normally protect pedestrians from vehicles were to be replaced as part of the city's preparation for the Super Bowl next month. The attacker drove his pickup around a police vehicle parked to block traffic. This is like, the mall cops that they're putting in schools, the good guys with the guns. Well, if you have an Uzi, you could probably get through that guy, the security in front of the school. The Texas man who rammed into crowds in New Orleans in the early hours of New Year's Day drove onto a sidewalk and around a patrol car that had been parked to block road access to Bourbon Street. Officials confirmed during a news conference on Wednesday that security bollards designed to prevent vehicles from hitting pedestrians were not in place at the site because they were being replaced as part of the city's preparations to host the Super Bowl next month. Until new bollards could be installed, parked police cars and other barriers, as well as patrolling officers, were being used as safeguards. So I don't know. You kind of knew that the Super Bowl was coming to New Orleans probably 2 years ago, maybe 3. You couldn't have replaced the bollards. I've never even heard that phrase a long time ago. And making matters worse, this you can't even believe. I guess the New Orleans police superintendent wasn't aware that these existed. Colin, if you could play this clip.
I can declare to you that the Bourbon Street is open.
Chief, where did those archers come from?
Sorry?
Those yellow archers, where did they come from?
Actually, we have them. I didn't know about them, but we have them. And so we have been able now to put them.
So they're referring to like the yellow barriers that they didn't have up. I mean, I'm not into physics. If the car was flooring at 120 miles an hour, could it have gone over them? I don't know, perhaps, but it's a lot easier to go around police cars than it is to go around, a line of yellow barriers with a fence. I mean, we're talking semantics here, but at the end of the day, after 9/11, the answer was surveillance state. Let's stop you from bringing, a certain size of toothpaste on the plane. Not a lot of evaluation of Bush got fucking memos while he was vacationing at the ranch. August 6th. Hey, bin Laden primed to use planes as missiles. They ignored blinking red lights intelligence. I don't have a lot of nice things to say about Al Gore, but I think if he was president, there was a chance maybe they could have enhanced security. Maybe. In this case, there's no surveillance maybe you would have surveilled the guy, but how much earlier you're going to surveil the guy? This is a major city. So to me, this is a fuck up on their part, but you're already seeing both through that clip we showed you, but also in the embrace of AI. It's not just surveilling to crack down, it's surveillance to make money for these companies.
Yeah, I think you got to really take an honest look at like Cop City and start realizing that they understand things are more desperate for regular people than maybe they want to advertise. So they're taking steps. They're taking steps because they saw what happened Mangione and New York City. They see what's happened in New Orleans. This is just going to fall in line. They have all the backing they need. These horrible things have happened. We've got to take away civil liberties. It's coming. It's no question at all. Right.
And by the way, I have no idea. There's conflicting reports. Is there a link between this guy and what he did and the Cybertruck guy who detonated himself in front of Trump Tower? Don't know. Remains to be seen. It is quite a coincidence. Apparently, they both served in the same unit, not at the same time, but in the same unit. But I also want to add, again, I don't know this guy's full reasoning. There's no defense for what he did. But at the root of this, at the root of a lot of these folks, even mass shooters, they say mental illness. A lot of these mass shooters, their families have economic strife. I'm not saying that is the core reason he did this, but it should be noted that the driver, he was having major financial issues. This is from CNN. In recent years, Jabbar appears to have struggled with his finances. In a January 2022 email filed as part of his divorce case, he wrote that he could not afford a mortgage payment on his house, which he said was more than $27,000 past due, and he was in danger of foreclosure if his divorce settlement was further delayed. Jabbar also stated in the email that a business he had formed, Blue Meadow Properties, had lost about $28,000 the prior year, and that other businesses he formed weren't worth any money. He added that he had incurred about $16,000 in credit card debt. So again, it's not a defense, but there are many ways one could be radicalized. And if you're having economic problems, then you add the marital issues, you become vulnerable.
Desperation breeds all kinds of outcomes.
Yeah. So we'll stay on this. We'll see if there'll be more calls for surveillance, but I find that very troubling. And I think that we should also note there's already not calls for, but there's already enhanced surveillance happening. Facial recognition, AI, hell, your cars are basically spying on you. After this guy detonated the Cybertruck in Vegas, Elon Musk basically handed over to the police all the cameras from Tesla charging stations because he was driving a Cybertruck, and reporting has shown that Teslas have cameras on you. So you might be the driver, but you don't actually have complete privacy in your own car. So, hey, we've been talking for weeks about the predatory for-profit health insurance industry, which we're about to get to. Stay tuned for more of the surveillance state, and I doubt it's going to get any better under Trump. I also, before we move on, I want to show this. This isn't about surveillance, but the same usual suspects who railed against cancel culture, well, they sure want to deport anyone that seems different after something like this. Glenn Greenwald tweeted this out, referencing Tommy Lahren, that right-wing crank and moron. She tweeted, if you were in our streets waving Palestinian or ISIS flags and chanting an intifada revolution, you should probably be on a watch list and or deported immediately. Just a thought. I think she's referencing because the driver of the New Orleans attack had an ISIS flag. So Glenn, who I've had my disagreements with, but in this case, I think he's right. And nice to see him actually criticizing a Republican in this case. The conservatives who did this are worthless. Spend a decade ranting against the evils of the U.S. security state, domestic surveillance, denials of free speech, only to demand that anyone, including Americans who support Palestinians over Israel, be monitored and or deported. So, yeah, you could see this because this guy was brown, even though he was an American citizen. You already have Trump trying to connect dots that don't connect. So I'm sure we'll see more of that. I haven't given myself the pain. Tommy Lahren should be on a watch list. I like that. I haven't given myself to watch Fox News after this. I'm trying to start the year sane, but I'm sure you're going to see more of that. Your thoughts before we move on?
No, I hate to say it, but I think you nailed it. I mean, bottom line, this is the right wing will use anything they can to prop up whatever they can.
The Reich wing?
The Reich wing, yes. That's what I always call them, is the Reich wing. So yes, sir, the Reich wing.
Yes. And before I move on, because we're about to get to the for-profit predators at UnitedHealthcare, I want to just give a public service announcement. And this might not be in my best interest or Status Quo's best interest, but I don't really give a fuck. You got to lead with integrity. We've had a lot of new subscribers recently. Welcome to the masses. Please, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. But I've been noticing, boy, if you do a video, and even if the video is not about Trump, if you say anything in the video that's critical of Trump, or if you say anything in a video that they don't like, for example, John, our wonderful cameraman, covered a protest for Robert Brooks. He was this black man who was pretty much lynched at this prison, killed by a gang of 14 prison guards and elsewhere. And at that protest, not our cameraman, but he was taping the protest. There were some folks who were speaking out about Daniel Penny killing Jordan Neely on the subway, which some people believe Daniel Penny should have been convicted, and some people think, he did the right thing. Regardless, oh my God, all these right-wingers that hate cancel culture and call liberal snowflakes, if they receive something that isn't along their pre-existing views, if you're not spoon-feeding them exactly what they want to hear, unsubscribe. I say this kindly in the new year. Bye-bye. I just want to get rid of all of you, even if it hurts us in the short term, because I cannot take this snowflake generation on the left or the right. So this channel is not for you if you want to have your pre-existing views fed to you 24/7. So if you're going to go unsubscribe because you hear one thing that isn't in lockstep, bye-bye, goodbye. Okay, that's the problem with the internet. That's the problem with tribalism. People get very triggered if you're not feeding them what they want to hear. And it's a lot more profitable to feed people exactly what they want to hear, particularly on YouTube. I don't give a shit. I'm not here to, prop up the liberals, and I'm not here to prop up Trump, who, sorry to tell you folks, he's corrupt too. Did I miss anything there, Steve?
No, well, the one thing I would just want to echo this. On X, there was an article in Rolling Stone
by the way, I should say, sorry, 700 people watching. Smash that like button, share this live stream. Go ahead.
Yeah, but on X, there was an article from Rolling Stone about how Elon Musk is just a disinformation factory, and he's pumping out all kinds of false stuff that I can verifiably say. I mean, stuff, especially about economics. Dude is like way off the reservation, but there's a million other things that he's wrong on too. But anyway, I posted this Rolling Stone article out there, and it was more of one of those casual posts, not like something I gave a lot of, long, deep thought to. And I swear on my life, people I had never seen before, out of the blue, lots of Muskers and MAGA folks immediately saying, this article's garbage, blah, blah, blah. Then I opened it up and I realized it had a paywall to it. It had a paywall. So I'm like, well, hold on. So either the article is garbage and you can tell me specifically what part is wrong, or you're going to admit that you went ahead and didn't read it because it's paywalled, or you are going to admit you have a subscription to Rolling Stone and you really suck this stuff up also. And it was like every one of them lost their fucking mind. I kid you not. They were like, I don't have to read that shit to know it's shit. And it was just like, okay, so there you go, man. It's like it's ridiculous.
It's just so remarkable because, and this is all over the internet. This is how, podcasters become big because they're feeding, one side of the cult. And by the way, liberals do this too.
Oh,
I mean, I've seen liberals and, vote blue no matter who people. They come across one of my videos, they like it. And then they see in another video I'm bashing Biden and it's like, unsubscribe. I met with an executive at Sirius Radio last year. Sirius Radio is, satellite radio. And I was pitching them to give me a show on the progressive channel. They call it Progress. And I basically said, your Progress channel sucks because it's all MSNBC fucking amateur hour. It's just blue team. So why don't you give an actual progressive a show? Try me out once a week. And I'll bring an actual audience to you. And they said, okay, but you don't really, I can't get a feel for you. He told me, like, are you for the Dems? Are you for the, I'm like, I'm not for either of them. They're corrupt. Both of them. Liberals, conservatives, they're all corrupt. This is all theater. And he said, yeah, that doesn't really sell on radio. He didn't really say you got to pick a side, but that was the message. So that's the problem. So I say, you know what? I'd rather have less subscribers that watch us for the truth and understand that we're not here to prop up Trump. We're not here to ignore Trump's corruption. We're not here to ignore Biden and the Democrats' corruption. We're going to call out all the corruption, all the hypocrisy, and all the attackers and oppressors of the working class. And if you don't like it, take a hike. Anyway, and by the way, thank you to all our new members, because you guys are what allows us to have that liberty to just keep it real. We got a lot of new paid members in November and December, and we'd love if you're new here, if you have a couple bucks after the holidays, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. All right, so and in the description to this also, make sure you subscribe to Steve's channel, Real Progressives on YouTube, and Real Progress in Action. We'll promote that too. So we've been covering, obviously, the aftermath of the murder of the UnitedHealthcare CEO, all the things going on in the case against alleged shooter Luigi Mangione. But I've been sticking on it because this is the time to expose the details of these predators in the health insurance industry. And by the way, to the audience, I've been emailing back and forth. So we have some interviews lined up with whistleblowers, with people to share their horror stories. So stay tuned for those. So I'm just cruising along Twitter the other day, and I see that UnitedHealthcare, not only are they denying people while they're lucid, they're denying people in comas, Steve.
Yeah.
So UnitedHealthcare, who has been doing all this PR blitz after their CEO, they are, as I reported last week, they're calling mainstream media outlets, telling them to blur out, the wanted signs, blur out the figures. They're arming themselves to the teeth with extra security. Apparently, they're not actually changing any of their policies. They're not actually changing their fraud. They're just kind of going along, stay the course and hoping it all blows over. This was on Twitter. I'll read you the article here. UnitedHealthcare denies claim of woman in a coma. A social media post from Dr. Zachary Levy said UnitedHealthcare denied the claims of one of his patients who is in a coma has gone viral. I'll just show you the tweet. It's in the article. UnitedHealthcare just denied a claim on one of my patients in the ICU with a brain hemorrhage, in a coma, on a ventilator, in heart failure, because I haven't proven to them that caring for her in the hospital was, quote, medically necessary.
Jesus Christ.
Tear it all down. I want to repeat this. Brain hemorrhage, in a coma, on a ventilator, in heart failure. And why is before we'll get to the moral depravity of it, but let's say this person doesn't come out of the coma. Let's say they die, or they're on life support for a while, whatever. Who's going to be saddled with these bills? Their family, their loved ones. How does it? Isn't that an oxymoron? She's in a coma. A doctor has to prove that the care is medically necessary. I mean, remember when the conservatives were screaming of death panels? Well,
there's your death panel.
Here's your death panel. I mean, this is just beyond the pale. I don't even know how any of this is really legal. The more reporting I do on UnitedHealthcare and the for-profit predatory schemes, it sure seems like fraud to me, a lot of the practices. I did a report last week on how UnitedHealthcare is basically trying to backdoor move people into Medicare Advantage plans, and then they are pushing doctors who are taking Medicare Advantage patients to basically create fake diagnoses. And the UnitedHealthcare patients, their sickness scores rose 55% in the first year on Medicare Advantage. I mean, this is just fraud. It's really, there's no gray area. It's fraud. But your thoughts on apparently, coma, brain aneurysm, denied.
The laws are not there to protect us. The laws are there to protect the capitalists, period. And whether it be from healthcare, or whether it be from law enforcement, or whether it be from any other industry out there, it is 100%. The laws are built to protect private capital, not we the people. And I think we're always shocked each time we see a new an epidemic of it, right? Every time a new incident comes up, but in reality, this is the norm. This is the standard. And it's just now we're starting to finally see it. The mask is off. And they're not really too worried about it, because what are you going to do about it, Jordan? What are you all going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? They're banking on absolutely bupkis. So this is what the new norm is.
I should say that the doctor who tweeted this, he shared an email after the initial tweet of his draft to UnitedHealthcare. That's another thing. I mean, obviously people get mad at their doctors, but a lot of these doctors spend a shit ton of time advocating for patients, sending these tedious ass letters and on the phone with health insurance companies, trying to get them to do the right thing. But he wrote to UnitedHealthcare saying the patient's treatment, quote, was medically necessary to prevent them from dying. I mean, it's just it's truly unbelievable. It's sickening. And, frankly, I don't want to make this about politics, but remember, in the not so distant past, we were gaslit. Luckily, the mainstream media's influence is waning, but we were told, people love their sacred, holy choice of private health insurance. People don't want their private health insurance taken. People love their private insurance. We were told that by, Pete Buttigieg and Kamala and, all the candidates in 2016 and 2020. MSNBC pushed that. Biden, when he was a little bit more there, said, if they pass Medicare for all in Congress, I'd veto it on my desk. Well, we're seeing why. Because United Health and Aetna and Cigna and the whole gang, and not just them, Wall Street. I did a video earlier on Wall Street. Check it out if you missed it, because the next economic crash, I believe, is coming. I texted you about that this morning. The few guardrails we have for Wall Street, against Wall Street, to basically, be predators against us and tank the economy, well, they're coming right off as this new president comes in. But to me, everything we're seeing here is this system is not going anywhere unless we do more than a couple protests in the street. Again,
and an I voted sticker on the forehead.
Right. I'm not telling you to go get your guns. I don't think vigilante justice is the way. I think it's going to boomerang back on us in a bad way. But something's got to give here, because this system is only getting worse with AI. They're going to exploit you even more. I just had a conversation on the phone with a retiree in New York City. I'm going to be interviewing her soon. I mean, the things they're doing to the elderly in this country, your grandparents or your parents, to screw them, moving them off Medicare, which they paid into. It's not yes, it's an entitlement. They are entitled to it because they paid into it their whole working life. Now they're trying, remember the commercial a decade ago with Paul Ryan, throwing grandma off the cliff. They're literally doing that now, just through the back door. They're moving the elderly and seniors and retirees off of Medicare into Medicare Advantage, in many cases without their knowledge or consent. So I think this is only going to get worse. And when Luigi Mangioni's trial begins, if the defense is smart, I think the health insurance industry is going to be put on trial. The question is, will more whistleblowers come out? Because that's what we need, really. We need more whistleblowers to come out and make to a fever pitch where, yeah, maybe CNN and mainstream media will ignore it, but we're seeing now alternative podcasts, independent media are having even equal, if not greater of a presence. I think we need these whistleblowers who are working there now to come out, even take a risk to your jobs for the greater good, because we need to hear more inside the belly of these beasts what they are doing. I'll give you an example. Apologies to viewers who have already seen this. We did this video last week on somebody who worked at UnitedHealthcare. We're going from, in this case, what we just told you about, denying people in a coma, to UnitedHealthcare literally fighting with the widow of 5 children to not pay the hospice bill for her husband who just died from pancreatic cancer.
I worked in the medical claims department and went through training for about 2 to 3 months to get out on the claims rep floor, and was taught so many different ways to deny. Every policy is completely different, so there was thousands of policies that we had to kind of memorize, which was impossible, but they demanded it. They were so mean to us. But I'm here to talk about one specific claim. It was a widowed woman calling me at least 2-3 times a day, asking if I knew anything, because they were taking her to court for this. Her husband had just passed from pancreatic cancer, and this was a hospice claim. They were already garnishing her wages, and this was less than 60 days after he died. By the way, she was left with 5 boys by herself. She was a stay-at-home mom her whole life. She was just trying to figure out life. There was absolutely no reason why we couldn't just submit this claim and be done. But they told me every which way to deny this, to get her off of our phone line. It was absolutely despicable. But there was one day that I was approved a certain amount of monies. And that amount of monies could cover one claim. A big one, yes, but it could cover one big claim. Big meaning, I'm pretty sure it was like 400,000, 500,000, a lot of freaking money. But they were expecting this single mom to pay it. Oh, and by the way, they took all of her insurance from her. So she didn't work. She had no health insurance. Her boys didn't have health insurance. It's a clusterfuck. Needless to say, I went in, paid it, went on timed out thing, went and told my supervisor that I quit, and I walked out of there.
So, Steve, What's interesting to me, remember the how you going to pay for things crowd?
Oh yeah.
The how you going to pay for things. This comes from Democratic politicians. Biden, gave Bernie a lecture during the debates. It's a great idea, but how are you going to pay for the trillions? The whole guise of this, how you're going to pay for things, is fiscal conservative, right? You got to be responsible. Got to be
Hey
responsible.
Kyle.
Well, besides the moral depravity of that, because that's horrendous, that, a widow of 5 children, and now you're being taken to court by this billion-dollar health insurance industry. And I'll tell you in a minute, the CEO is not the CEO that was just killed, the CEO of United Health Group, which is the parent company. He's openly, quietly bragging about they made a record amount in 2024. But how are you going to pay for things if they're so fiscally responsible? Well, it seems kind of A, questionable, B, fraudulent, and C, fiscally irresponsible. She's saying United Health, and I'm sure other insurance companies are doing the same thing, are only allowing a certain amount of money. Say, hey, here's $200,000 for the day to do whatever you want with. That's not how they're advertising themselves to the public. You see what I'm saying? Like, here's $200,000. Here's $200,000 a day. So that puts a limit on how many claims you could approve. That's not actually, hey, doctors present a claim and we approve or deny based on the actual need and medical diagnosis. That's just, here's your allotment. Good luck. And sorry to the people that it's like, when I was a kid, I waited online at Disney World to get Goofy's signature. And I was heartbroken when I was like, second about to get him and Goofy was taken away. Sorry to those, bad analogy, but you get my point. Sorry to those who, unfortunately, our allotment is up for the day. So deny. So that was the first thing that seemed very fraudulent to me. The second thing she said in another clip was subsidiaries of United Health, because they have a lot of subsidiaries under them. They didn't even have enough money in the coffers to pay the claims. Well, where's the money going? Where's all the deductibles, the copays, the co-insurance? So this seems like United Health fraud to me.
Absolutely.
And we could go into Aetna, Cigna, and all the rest of them. So you got the moral depravity, but B, we need to hear more of these whistleblowers, because I believe if we had a Department of Justice that actually investigates real crooks, there should be multiple investigations.
Yeah, I lost my mom last year, and it was a really, really tough thing being at the hospital with her and watching her go through it. She broke her leg first. She went into the hospital for a spiral fracture in her leg. When she got there, turned out that she had other problems. She needed a bypass because she had a completely blocked artery on the side where her leg was broken. And since it was spiral, they had to literally put a rod in her leg. Anyway, point is that she was in there. She had kidney work done. She had heart work done. She had artery work done. She had a leg that was broken and repaired. She had like 5 separate major, like any one of them would have been a major procedure. After she got through the surgery and they put a drain in her kidney, they gave her like 3 days to figure out if she was going to be strong enough to go to rehab or whether to go home to hospice. She had like that little time, and my mom was so beaten down and worn out. She's just like, just send me home. Just send me home. And she died. And I, every time I fucking hear this stuff, I literally want to just break shit, because I miss my mom, obviously, but I know she's just one of millions that go through this. And every time you experience these things, you're just like, well, that's just the way it goes. It costs money to do these things. It's this, that, the one thing that we could easily take care of, the one thing that we could easily ensure that there was plenty of, the federal government could take care of every bit of it, chooses not to, and plays that silly fucking game of how you're going to pay for it. And every fucking dumbass out there, all of our favorite activist leaders, the bigwigs, we talk about our taxpayer dollars, doing the same shit, creating the very air cover these son of a bitch capitalists need to prevent us from being able to exact what we deserve. So hats off to people that get it. And we've got to really fucking change this, because it's going to keep happening, man. It is getting worse. It's not there's nothing you can show me that's getting better in this world. Not a goddamn thing. From education to a fucking climate crisis to surveillance state to people dying from economic injustice to medical care. There's literally nothing getting better in this country. Nothing getting better right now at all whatsoever.
Absolutely. And by the way, shout out today and yesterday, new Status Coup members. Peter, Monica, Emma, Alyssa, John, Stephanie, Suzanne. Jump on the train with them. Join Status Coup as a member for $5 a month. That's 16 cents a day. Not only so you can support us beautiful people on camera, and Steve looks 10 years younger with his dye job, so you can support on the ground reporting. We're going to get back on the ground pretty quickly in this new year. I should also tell you, I can't get into full details, but I had a conversation with a bigger outlet today on an East Palestine story. So fingers crossed that we'll be able to break that major investigative story that I've been teasing you about with the bigger outlet. So please sign up and I'll give you a shout out while we're live. The other thing I will say here is, I think that you and I were talking about this off camera, but I'm hoping as this case comes, and I think it's going to be a pretty high profile case, that we could start getting into what is the definition of murder and violence, because we need to start having a conversation about redefining that. Again, yeah, I mean, it is murder to shoot someone, in the back, in the front, whatever, but it's not in polite society. It's not on cable news or in the pages of the New York Times considered murder to deny a woman in a coma her medical claims, or to deny or to delay somebody from a mammogram, which if you delay it, you could be late to detecting breast cancer. I mean, all the horror stories we've heard. I've talked to people who say routinely they were a whistleblower I interviewed. They were denying MRIs that were being used to try to detect cancer, stating, "Well, you don't have cancer, so we're not going to approve this." Yeah, the MRI would show if we had cancer or not. None of this is considered murder, but it leads to people dying prematurely. And again, I use the definition. I use the analogy. I mean, if you had a raging block fire and the fire department showed up, they had the hoses, they had all the equipment, they had enough firefighters, but they just said, it's too foggy. I don't feel like it. Wouldn't there be criticism of the fire department? Wouldn't there be firings? Wouldn't there maybe be, look criminally? Well, this is the fire department that unfortunately is an unnecessary one. We don't need these middlemen, just deciding we're not going to approve it. And how many people? I mean, I'm talking, I don't want to blow up his spot, but our cameraman has really bad tooth pain. You've dealt with that. He doesn't have dental insurance because we don't have the money to provide it. And he just said to me, I went to the dentist today, but it was $250 just for a consultation at X-ray. So I didn't bother. I told him, just do it. I'll send you the money. But the point is, how many people aren't getting treatment because they can't afford it? Especially with,
Lots.
I don't want to call it inflation anymore because this is just corporate gouging. We still have the corporate price gouging going on. Groceries, electric bill, housing, utility bills. So I think this is murder. It's just not as optically as traditional as, shooting someone in the back.
Yeah, many moons ago, Engels, went out there and said, Marx and Engels, everybody knows Marx and Engels. He said, that basically it's social murder. Austerity is social murder. And I've been austerity is murder forever. I mean, like as long as anybody's known me, I've been austerity is murder because I've been trying to change the way people understand murder. I mean, fact of the matter is that the only thing people realize is a bullet or a knife, period. They don't really understand how policy is a means of killing off the poor. It's a way of killing off the homeless. It's a way of killing off people that are undesirable or have different. It's kind of a coded way of just eliminating people you don't want in society. And if we don't start realizing that just because somebody didn't shoot someone, that it's still fucking murder, I think we've slipped a plot. I think we've lost it, and we need to gain that knowledge. We need to start thinking differently. And it's not going to come from the politicians because they do this. So it's got to come from the bottom up. It's got to come from us. We have got to demand that people start seeing it that way.
And also, kind of cherry on top of all this, as they're denying patients care in a coma, they're laughing all the way to the bank. This is from the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. More quietly, Whitty, who's the United Health Group CEO. So United Health Group is the parent company of UnitedHealthcare. He's the one who was telling, we showed the video a couple times, did the whole praise of Brian Thompson and the world is mourning. He was such a wonderful person. And then he said, we will continue to be the guardians to guard against, quote, unsafe and unnecessary care. Apparently, it's unsafe and unnecessary to pay for treatment for somebody in a coma. Good Lord. Anyway, more quietly, Whitty is telling executives that the company is expecting to hit financial records by the end of the year, meaning 2024. At the helm of United Health, Whitty led an era of rapid growth. It bought up doctors' offices and technology providers. Revenue through September of 2024 eclipsed $299 billion, a record high, and up from $277 billion in 2023. When the company's shares peaked in November, they had arisen about 90% since Whitty took the helm. And by the way, sorry for his kids, but let's not sugarcoat Brian Thompson either. This guy, while he was CEO, was presiding over, the deployment of AI on steroids so that United Health could deploy AI to fuck you over even more. And the error rates, they had error rates of 90% in terms of denying claims. So this is what they're getting their revenue from. This is what, their historic records are from. And by the way, I don't believe in this system, but just for a second, say this system was in place even a little bit more ethically, where they approved claims that should be approved, they'd still make a fuck ton of money. They'd still make a shit ton of money. Just like Wall Street, if they would have done the due diligence on lending out mortgages in 2007 and 2008, they still would have made a lot of money. But it's never enough. That's what happens when you don't have real regulation in a country. We have regulations. The issue is not that we don't have enough regulation. We don't actually have agencies allowed to regulate. We have regulatory capture in this country. That's what happens when you have corrupt systems in place, which is when healthcare, a human right, is you're tossed to the wolves of the market and quarterly profits and having to pay, reap benefits for shareholders. Most other countries don't have systems like this because most other countries, there's corruption in every country, but a lot of other countries realize that, hey, if we have a healthier population, that's better for the economy. And if we have a more educated, where everyone could get education, that's better for the economy too. And if we don't have citizens shackled in debt, that's better for the economy too, because they could spend money rather than, but it just that then moves into the discussion, Steve. What is the definition of a strong economy? Because in this country, the definition of a strong economy is not, as many people as possible can actually live and thrive. It's how few people, the elite few. Exactly. Sorry for my tangent there.
No,
your thoughts.
Right on.
Move on.
No, it's right on point. The fact of the matter is that we know inherently that we can do a lot of great things. We know inherently that we won't do a lot of great things because we know inherently that we have a corrupt system that is meant to protect private capital, period. Over and over, it'll be the same story because in the end, that's what this government is there to do, is to protect private property. And it is not there to protect we, the people out of doors. It is there simply to protect wealth and a wealth accumulation. And it's going to keep happening like it did during the mortgage crisis, like it has done during the Great Recession, all of the different, like even when Bubba handed, how funny is this, that Bill Clinton handed W a recession, right? Because of his balanced budget. We have seen this over and over again. Bill Clinton deregulating Wall Street with Glass-Steagall and the banking industry. He was the one that set the stage for the final coup d'etat with the mortgage crisis. So, I mean, it's a bipartisan thing because these guys are not, it's not real parties. These guys protect capital, period. It's capital. And they might do some different buzzwords to make a certain group of people go, oh yeah, they're with me. But reality is that they are there to be frontmen for capital and nothing more.
Absolutely. And reminder, folks, we don't know the next steps in the case, but we will be covering, we were there on the ground covering both arraignments for alleged shooter Luigi Mangione. I do think as the case unfolds, you might see more folks kind of out there in support or against. It seemed people were feeling it out, how acceptable it is outside the courthouse to, openly support him. A lot of people support him online. But to me, and Steve and I talked about this off camera, to me, this is not just about Luigi Mangione. This is about the predatory capitalist system.
Yes.
I don't think necessarily that Mangione did this only main focus was the health insurance industry. I think it was capitalism, and he chose this person and this group as a perfect representation of that. So we're going to continue to cover it because the mainstream media has already moved off of this. And, at the moment, we don't know the new developments, but we will continue to cover whistleblowers. I continue to implore you, if you work in the health insurance industry, if you have information on the exploitation of, people denying claims that shouldn't be claimed, you could blow the whistle on your managers, your supervisors, the executives. We're happy to protect your identity if you want that. We could interview you, blur out your face, distort your voice, which we've done many times. It's extra work for Colin, but he's happy to do it. Please reach out to us, info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. I'm interviewing a current worker in the health insurance industry this weekend, and we're going to do all that to protect their identity and have some conversations lined up with others. So, and also, I implore you, watch my video that I did earlier on the looming Wall Street crash, because the evil stepsister of the predatory for-profit health insurance industry is the Wall Street vultures. And in 2005 and 2006, so almost 20 years ago, there were people warning iceberg ahead with these junk mortgages. They just were being tuned out. Well, I'm telling you, as I explained in the video this morning, the few guardrails we have are coming off on Wall Street, particularly with Trump, friend of the worker Trump coming into office. So don't be surprised if there's another financial crash, because we have many bubbles. I think we have a crypto bubble. We have a commercial real estate bubble. And I also believe we have a student loan bubble. And, once the music stops, you're left footing the bill, as you remember from almost 20 years ago now, in 2008. So check out that video earlier. Speaking more of fraud and fraudsters, President Musk has been in the news recently, Steve. And, there was a whole MAGA tiff over New Year's and Christmas over the H1B1. I never say
H1B
it right.
visas.
H1B visas, because Musk's representation of it is we need more of these visas that bring in the highly skilled foreign workers because we don't have enough Americans that could code or can, do these tech jobs, which is not true, by the way. We do. But we need more of this. And of course, Trump flip-flopped because sorry, MAGA, again, I got to do a trigger warning for the snowflakes out there. Trump flip-flopped on this. When he ran originally, he was against this because they were taking jobs from Americans, these highly skilled foreign workers. Well, Elon Musk says, if not for the H1S1 visa, I wouldn't be here. And, these tech companies wouldn't thrive because we wouldn't be able to bring in the expertise and the skill of foreign work. Well, apparently it's not as benevolent as Elon let on. Apparently, colored me shock. Elon just wants to pay as little as possible and is using the foreigners as the bait for that. Tesla laid off U.S. workers with foreign workers using H-1B visas that Musk wants to increase. Would you look at that? Tesla has replaced some of its U.S. employees who were let go as part of a big wave of layoffs earlier this year with foreign workers using H-1B visas, which CEO Elon Musk is now campaigning to increase. Over the last week, Elon Musk has been promoting the increase of H-1B visas, which are used to bring foreign workers into the U.S. for, quote, specialty occupations. Qualified foreign workers need to be sponsored by a company to get the visa, which lasts 3 years, extendable to 6 years, after which the holder needs to reapply. The visa holder must maintain employment at the visa sponsor to retain the work visa. Translated, that makes them indentured servants of the companies like Tesla, and Tesla can abuse them however much they want, because if the worker doesn't like it, well, then they're going to get deported because they have to remain employed at the companies to stay in America. The worker would have to leave the country if the employment ends for whatever reason. This has led to some criticism. It gives tremendous power to the employer. While there are obvious benefits to bringing skilled workers into the U.S., people are divided on the issue because those workers are often paid less than the U.S. workers, pulling negative pressures on compensation. Let's read Musk's tweet. The reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of the H-1B. Take a big step back and fuck yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. And by the way, Tesla, we reported that roughly 15,000 employees were let go at Tesla around April 2024. Every department was affected, but the layoffs were concentrated in Texas and California. And now he wants to increase H-1B visas to replace them, i.e., MAGA, I hope you're listening, because this is your president, not Trump. He wants to replace U.S. workers and bring in foreign workers and pay them less. Everything that you have been screaming about under Trump, that this is what Trump is guarding against, even though it's not. Even though most of Trump's golf courses, and all Trump's places are a lot of them are foreign immigrants. Even though Trump makes all his shit in China, from the ties to the perfumes to all the shit he's hawking. But blinders, goggles. Don't criticize our fearless leader. Steve seems like just a fucking billionaire who might become the first trillionaire. Just totally full of shit and totally scamming and exploiting so that he can make more bucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane. I mean, we should have, I'm just going to say it. We should have open borders. I see no reason not to. And if you understand economics, and unfortunately, folks are trapped in a paradigm that will support the Trump version of this. But if you understand economics, you know that we could do not only great for all Americans, but we could bring the best and brightest from around the world in here to help refill the brain drain. And, we don't have to dumb down people's wages, but alas, because we're in this capitalist system, we don't own our own means of production. We are always trading ourselves off for, wage slavery. This is what you got.
Steve,
shitty.
And I hate to bring this back to MAGA, because this isn't just about MAGA. On both sides of this tribal politics, all of you folks are being conned. And I get it. Not all, because we have a lot of smart progressive viewers. But I was hoodwinked by Obama. I was drinking the Kool-Aid back in 07, 08. So many of us were. And I get it if you were kind of hoodwinked by Trump's populist rhetoric. I was there. I covered over 50 of his rallies in 2016. It sounded great. We're burning down NAFTA. We're bringing back the jobs. We're going to tariff everyone. And it would have been nice if there was follow through. Unfortunately, there wasn't. I don't really know. MAGA, tell me. I don't know how it's draining the swamp for the first thing you do to name the Secretary of State the CEO of ExxonMobil. I don't really know how that's draining the swamp. I don't know how naming the Treasury Secretary a for-profit capitalist vulture who criminally foreclosed on Americans, Steve Mnuchin. Okay? So I don't care what you say. I care who do you surround yourself with and who do you take money. That's not just for Trump, all of them. And he surrounds himself with capitalist pigs who are not trying to drain the swamp. They are the swamp. Just like Biden, who is a fake union guy. And the media pushed this myth that Biden was a union guy. Some union guy who pushed NAFTA, which decimated unions, and tried to push the TPP, which would have been the final death nail in the coffin of labor. So I'm trying to get you out of, if you're MAGA, if you're red MAGA or blue MAGA, because there's a lot of blue MAGA who just live and breathe whatever Rachel Maddow says and whatever fucking Nancy Pelosi says. You all need to wake up and, touch some grass. Trump, it's all transactional. Elon was reportedly giving him, what was he giving him? Like $60, $70 million a month during the campaign. Trump's ground game was Elon Musk. Elon Musk was hiring, I wish I was making this up, volunteers, and he was putting them in the back of U-Hauls to go around knocking on doors in Michigan. So it was transactional. And Elon is now attached at the hip to Trump. He was at the Christmas party at Mar-a-Lago. He was at the New Year's Eve celebration at Mar-a-Lago. He's apparently on calls with Trump and foreign leaders. This is what you call draining the swamp? And if you are MAGA, and I understand that there's some concerns with immigration. I don't live on the border, but there has been cases of violence. I'm not poo-pooing that. I get what you're saying about, let's have open borders. I think you do need to vet people that come in. You obviously don't want to let dangerous people in and stuff like that. I think that's been significantly hyped up by Fox News and the right wing. There's a lot more dangerous white Americans than there are immigrants coming into the country. With that said, Trump's backing this up. Trump flip-flopped from being against more H-1B1 visas to now I agree with Elon. Why do you think that is? Why do you think Trump, by the way, even if Israel-Palestine isn't your issue, why do you think he's basically giving the keys to the kingdom to Benjamin Netanyahu? Could it be the $100 million he's gotten from Miriam Adelson, who is the widow of Sheldon Adelson, who was basically, other than the Koch brothers, the number 2 fucking Republican vampire that all the Republicans went to kiss his ring? Sheldon Adelson was the billionaire casino magnate. His wife is the widow. She gave him $100 million. You don't think that has anything to do with him now reportedly telling Netanyahu, do whatever you want? So I have a hard time. If you're MAGA, please tell me. You got to try to separate hating the Dems. That's fine. I'm not afraid. We criticize the Dems here, but you could be able to do two things at once. Criticize neoliberalism, criticize limousine liberalism, criticize their condescension to you, criticize democratic corruption. But, come on, Santa's not real. Sorry, MAGA. There is no tooth fairy, and he's corrupt, and he's hoodwinked you. Don't be suckered. Don't continue to be suckered. Elon Musk, and by the way, Trump, I'm giving it till, what are we, January 2nd? I'd be surprised if by Easter, Elon's not on the outs with Trump. And there's not, remember, Trump and Steve Bannon were in love, and then on the outs, and now they're in love again. So it's all transactional with Trump. But you tell me, MAGA, you tell me, if Trump is at the hip with this guy, and he's laying off workers at Tesla to then bring in foreign immigrants, boogeyman, foreign immigrants, and to pay them less, does that sound lockstep with what Trump has been screaming about for the last decade? It doesn't to me. It doesn't to me. I don't know what else to say. It pains me when good people, because I've interviewed a lot of right-wingers around the country. They're not bad people. Sure, there's some racists, but a lot of them are just good people who have been screwed by the system, and I get it. It's attractive when there's something new. It's attractive when you hear someone sound like an outsider. It's attractive when you hear like a businessman saying, yeah, I know the system because I used it. I was corrupt. I used the corrupt politicians. But we got to stop this cult worship. We really have to stop this cult worship of politicians on the left and the right. And you got to wake up. He's literally Elon Musk is sucking his teeth, and they're all conning you. There's not enough workers in America to take these jobs, please. And this goes back to the predatory health insurance industry we're just talking about. All of this is predatory because we don't have laws to stop these fucking sociopaths like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. It was just reported today that I guess a Facebook executive left. Now Mark Zuckerberg is putting in one of Trump's boys to be a VP at Facebook. Has nothing to do with him going down to dine with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, right? So it's just all one corrupt revolving door. And that's why I keep saying there's no blue team. There is no red team. The only color that matters is green.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
No, man. I mean, you saw the revolving door during the mortgage crisis, and that was led by Obama and his gang. You see the same thing with You saw the same thing with Biden. You've seen the same thing with Trump. They serve capital. They serve capital. They make the rules. They pardon who they want to pardon. They go after who they want to go after. You know, it's hilarious to hear people like Carville finally coming out saying, hey, maybe we were wrong trying to make everything about Donald Trump. Like the level of disconnect that most of these people have is just overwhelmingly absurd. So I put less than 0% faith in our electoral system, because I believe it's meant to simply give us this fake divide of red team, blue team, as they do literally the same thing. They protect capital. They're protecting Israel. They're helping genocide. They're dividing up the Middle East. They're freaking trying to trap Russia. They're doing all these things. And you don't have to, like Russia. The bottom line is that the U.S. oligarchy is doing what it's doing. None of us have an interest in this. Not one of us has an interest in this. There's not one of you whose lives are impacted by this. And yet at the same time, they've convinced you that we must go to war. We must kill these people. We must blow people up. We must finance these incursions. We must finance all kinds of death and destruction. And none of it is for you and I. All of it is for the purposes of the capital order and empire.
Steve, I know you got to go, but I need to show you this breaking news because it might break your head.
Oh, boy.
Speaking of no blue team or red team, just one team, guess who was awarded today the Presidential Citizens Medal?
Oh, dear God, who? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Biden presents Liz Cheney with the Presidential Citizens Medal today. So, kill a bunch of Iraqis, create ISIS, basically, cheerlead for bombing 9 or 10 countries at once, but do the bare minimum of being against an attempted insurrection and coup. We'll give you a medal.
Woo!
I mean, that should be the picture for American politics right there. Maybe Dick Cheney will be the candidate for the Dems in 2028. Who knows? But yeah, Liz Cheney awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal. At least they didn't give her the Purple Heart, right? Maybe that's next. Anything to say about that?
Just this ridiculous. I mean, I'm telling you, there is no such. The Democrats will rehabilitate every right-wing war criminal there is, and they will pardon every left-wing war criminal. I mean, at the end of the day, they're all one big happy family. They go golfing together. They go to Israel together. They do all kinds of other shit together. It's just fucking kayfabe, baby. It is nothing but theater. And it's time for us to pull out of that arrangement and stop seeing them as legitimate and start realizing that we're being run by a bunch of fucking assholes that own the country, and we need to reject that outright, not support it and pretend like it's real.
Steve, tell the masses where they can find you, your great channels, podcasts, and all that.
First of all, Jordan will be my guest, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday on Macro and Cheese. It's a podcast that comes out every Saturday morning. We did take one weekend off, and my God, it upset me to no end, but the team needed a break, so we gave them a week off. The other places you can find us is on Real Progressive's YouTube channel and Real Progress in Action. And of course, on Substack, Real Progressives, and YouTube, on and on and on. Find me as SD Grumbine on Twitter or X, or Blue Sky, the same thing. Austerity is murder.
And we have the links in the description. Everybody go subscribe. We got to support actual independent media that actually covers the real attacks on the whatever's left of the huddled masses and the working class. Steve has been doing that for nearly a decade. So thank you, Steve. Let me read some super. If you got to go ahead. Let me read some super chats. Nurchuk, is that your name? Nurch became a YouTube member. Welcome, welcome. Philip Blair, $5 super chat. Cuba can give their people health care, according to CIA's World Factbook, with better outcomes than our system, when even our CEA is admitting this. What the fuck? You see, Cuba, their mentality is not based on quarterly profits or the stock market. It's based on actually, having a healthy citizenry, which again helps the greater economy. And if you help the greater economy by having healthy and educated citizens, it also helps wealthy people. It's the circle of life. But in America, just being wealthy is not enough. They need to, the wealthy here need to be the uber rich, and they don't want any equality, income equality. They want to be the ones with 3 yachts. They don't want others to sniff that out. That's the difference. And, there's problems in every country, Cuba included, but somehow Cuba and other countries with far less wealth than us can figure out how to provide health care, education, and others. Here, always an excuse why we can't. Arlene, $5. Steve, don't you think open borders would cause more houselessness? Yeah, I mean, he left. I can't speak for him, but I don't think he means literally just let anyone in. There's got to be some vetting. I think what he was getting at is the idea of we should embrace immigration, particularly there are areas where it can help us. That's how I view it. But of course you want some vetting. Of course there needs to be some vetting. You can't just in any country have unfettered at all times immigration. But we also should stop this gaslighting and propaganda that it's the immigrants taking your jobs. It's not the immigrants taking your jobs. Wall Street has taken your job. The politicians have taken your job by sending them to China, Mexico, and elsewhere. I'm all for the Chinese having jobs. I'm all for Mexico having jobs, but not at the expense of Americans, not at expense of the auto worker, the steel worker, the carpenter, etc. So that's where industry has gone. It's not the immigrant taking your job. Trump and others have fooled you into thinking that. It's not. Most of the immigrants are doing the jobs that most, frankly, Americans don't want to do. That's the truth. Welcome, new Status Coup member. Just see it on my phone here. Caesar signed up as a Status Coup member through our website. Peter signed up, Monica, and etc. And by the way, totally fine if you've already signed up through YouTube. But just so you know, we do kindly prefer you to sign up through our website. So if you signed up through YouTube and you just want to do it through YouTube, that's fine. But we prefer you to sign up on our website because we don't have access to your email if you signed up on YouTube. If you sign up through our website, we have access to your email. We don't want to spam you. We don't want your email to, every day send you requests for money, but we do want your email so that we could email you when we're going live, when we could email you when we break an investigative story and you could read that investigative story, when we're doing a members call, kind of like to alert you when we're doing things, particularly when we're on the ground. So that's why we prefer you to sign up to our website, statuscoup.com/join. If you can, cancel your YouTube membership, sign up to our website. Also, you never know with YouTube. They could get rid of any channel any day. And then if all our membership is on YouTube, we're screwed. So if you can, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Admiral said, thank you. Thank you for finally being clear. I'm not worried about immigrants taking the jobs on their own accord. Correct. And frankly, I think there's a lot of people that it's not that they're racist. Some people are just racist, to be clear. But I understand there are some places where if you grew up in a place that it was a certain demographic, now it's totally changed and it's more, Latin or Asian or fill in the blank. It's not that you hate those people. It's that your communities have changed. What it was has changed. And for some people that could be uncomfortable. And that's why it doesn't make you a bad person. I mean, some people, you have nostalgia for the way you grew up and the way your community was. The problem is when that basic being uncomfortable or having a hard time adjusting to the demographic change, when you then get hoodwinked into blaming the immigrants for your economic conditions, that's where it's no good. Again, the immigrants are not taking the jobs. They're not. It's very clear where the jobs have gone. It's because the donors have purchased our government. The corporations have purchased our government. Full stop. Thank you for watching. Check out the video I did earlier so you can be forewarned. The potential next Wall Street crash is coming. I lay it out in a video I did this morning. Please check that out. Please watch our other reporting. And please, if you're new here, subscribe. We're almost at 320,000 subscribers. So subscribe to this channel. We'll see you tomorrow.